Alright, hey, it's Ronin Man here. Today we're going to talk a little more about training women and what that means, how to do that. I'll give you some very specific situations. And the only thing I'm going to say is, if you're new to this game, is don't expect that you can train a woman who you haven't trained before. That's going to work with her immediately. One of the key things you're going to do as you get into this is that you'll do it from the very beginning. So the very first day you meet her, you'll have her on the program, right? And so she will react a very predictable way, and you'll know about that. But when you're trying to start from the first time, it's kind of hard. So just keep that in mind. It's not a red pill. It takes a little bit of time. You have to work on it, and you have to get expectations so they understand where you're coming from, right? But I'm just going to give you a couple of examples of what is possible, and I can tell you that the benefits from training a woman properly are just amazing. The benefits for you, and I think actually the benefits for her too, because nobody really wants to be out of control where nobody wants them, right? You know, they don't want to be like, girls don't want to be like guys don't want to be around them, always having trouble with the guy. They don't want that. But they don't know how to they don't know how to be. It's not born with them. It's not born in their DNA how to act, right? And with guys, and guys often don't have a clue about how to tell women how to act, so that they can, be in line, right? So let's start the basics here. Okay, give you some examples here. The first thing I've talked about a little bit before, and that's something that a lot of people don't if you listen to a lot of PUAs and stuff, they're going to say things like, don't lie, right? So for example, if you have many girlfriends, don't tell them, right? Don't, that's kind of a common thing I hear. And to me, it's like totally politically correct. It's like, yeah, let's tell the guys, something that doesn't make any sense, right? Because in the reality is you have to lie, definitely. And the girls appreciate it too. It's part of life, right? Kids, 3-year-old kids don't lie. Adults lie. They're like fat in these jeans. Yeah, you look great. What's the point, right? So you definitely have to learn how to be an adult when you're doing these things, and you have to manage your own emotions, and you have to improve yourself, right? So that's one thing, is you want to say like, let me give you a very specific situation. Okay, so you've got your, let's say one of your girlfriends, and so she comes over to your house, right? And she didn't call, she didn't make an appointment. And let's say, for example, that you're there and you're with somebody else, right? So you're with somebody else. Maybe you're even having sex, right? You're having sex with another girl, right? And she comes over, right? And I'm just thinking of a very specific situation. I've had a couple, but one of them I had a glass door, so you could see inside. Mm-hmm. So, it's like once she got there, she could see everything that was going on inside, right? Right. So if it wasn't a perfectly clear glass door, but it was clear enough, right? And so she came in, and she was like, she's knocking on the door, she's banging on the door, let me in. And I was making a lot of noise, and it was like, the girl I was with was kind of upset, because we're obviously having sex and everything. So I went out to I went out to the door when I felt like it was the right time. And she was like totally like, she was so sure that I was gonna be a pussy that she couldn't even she was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? What's going on here?
Like I caught him.
Yeah, like I caught you red-handed, And so I said to her, I was like, very friendly, but I said, excuse me, did we make an appointment for you to come here? Did you tell me you're coming? I don't remember, And then she was like. And then she's like yelling, and I'm like, did you, do we have a, she knew me well enough that she was probably blown away that I was going to be hardcore about this one. But I go did you come here? Did I tell you? Did I forget? Because it could have been my fault. I could have forgotten, right? It's possible, right? It's possible that it's my mistake, right? Uh-huh. So I just said, hey, that's the way I looked at it. I said, hey, did we make an appointment? Did you supposed to be here? And she was like, well. And then after she realized I was going to hold my ground, she was kind of like, well, no, but what are you doing? What's she, who is she? And I just said, look, you didn't see anything here. you didn't see anything because you're not supposed to be here. You know, so look, just go home. You know, you didn't see anything here. You're not here, basically. You know, you're not here, and so just, you know, basically go home, and now you got her out of there, right? And so the other girl was a little bit upset, not too bad, and she was kind of, the other girl was kind of like, who was that? And I'm like, oh, I don't know, you know, says somebody, and I just kind of ignored it, you know. I didn't let her. We just continued fucking and finished it, right? And so then I start getting calls and texts, you know, who is she? What the hell are you doing? You know, blah 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 blah. And I just kept my ground. I just said, you know, what, like, honestly, did you just come by? Like, are you a stalker? You know, and she'd be like, like, once I get her to calm down, she's like, no, I'm not a stalker. And I'm like, well, look, and this speech that you give, it can be whenever you want. It can be like, let's say, for example, that you meet that night, right? The night that she caught you, right? Or let's say that she meets later, right? You know, she meets like a week later or something, right? And you say like, okay, she's like going crazy, and she so thinks she's right? She so thinks she's right? She's like, she definitely is right. You're wrong. You're a bad guy. You're a bastard. You know, that's kind of the basic kind of thing. She's absolutely sure about that, right? And I said, well, look, you know, we didn't make an appointment, and like I would say, like, look, I would never stalk you. Like, I that's not the way I am. Like, I just will not. I will not stalk people, right? And I said, I will never ever show up at your house without calling. Okay, it's just not going to happen. Like, I just won't do that to somebody, right? I'm not going to do that. So I said, look, I will never stalk you. Like, a lot of guys are stalkers, and they get angry and they get crazy and they do all kinds of stupid things, right? I said, I will never do any of those things. Like, that's not me. Like, I'm not a stalker, right? I'm not crazy. I'm not going to get angry. I'm not going to hit you. I'm not going to, lose my mind. Here's a huge fat dog here. Look how huge that dog is. That thing's massive. That's like the hugest dog I've ever seen. Like, seriously, you think the dogs are big in America? I mean, look at this thing. It's like a total beast, right? That is amazing. So I just say, look, I'm not a stalker. I'll never stalk you. What are you doing? Like, I don't want to date a stalker, right? And she'll be like, oh, but you're not supposed to. I say, look, you didn't see anything. Like, I wasn't doing anything. You didn't see anything because you're not supposed to be there. And when you're not supposed to be there, you're not supposed to be there, right? So it's none of your business, right? It's like, and I'll never do that to you. I'll never show up. And if you just hold your line, this is very, very important. You have to hold your line. You cannot give in, right? Let's see, actually, can we go here? You cannot give in. You cannot even be like weak for a minute. You're just like a hard ass. Like, you're not going to budge, right? You're like, I am like not going to change, right? There's a whole group of people. Hello, how you doing? Say hi to them. Thank you. Yeah. Dancing? No? Okay, yeah. Ciao, ciao. Ciao. Bye. Some very nice people. Okay, see you. Okay. Some very sweet college students there. We're walking around the college. So I thought this was a nice place to film for you guys. So I just hold my ground, and then eventually she decides that you're like such a hard ass that you're not going to give in, right? It's like, you know what I mean? You're just not going to give in. I think once women decide, they realize that you're a very strong guy, right? It's been my experience, and this is not theoretical. It's been my experience that once a woman realizes I'm a very strong guy, and I don't get crazy, I'm not emotional, and crazy angry with them. I'm just very tough. I have my rules, They actually kind of like it. It's like, this guy is a strong guy, because in the end, what women are looking for is somebody that's strong enough to take them through life, death, life, surgery, babies. This is hardcore stuff, right? This is real life. I think that's deep down inside a woman. She wants a guy who can take her through the storm of life, who can take her, who is not going to bend, who's not going to be bowled over by things. Like he's got his rules, he sticks with them, he's consistent. You can understand him. He's not like just erratic. Like basically she can't come by without calling. That's it. And I basically tell her, like, if you ever do it again, you're toast. You're out. Because that's my rule. Like, I'm never going to do it to you, and you can't do it to me. So it's a fair rule. And basically what happens is generally the girls are pretty cool about it, and they just kind of say, okay, this is the way the guy is. I know it sounds a little bit odd, you might find it hard to believe, but it's really true. It's really true. I've done it many, many times. But you have to be a hard ass from the beginning. It's like the concept that you want is an iron fist in a velvet glove. That's what you want. Iron fist in a velvet glove. You don't want to be like a weak, like an iron glove in a velvet fist, right? You want to be an iron fist in a velvet glove. So you don't bend, you're very tough, but you're very soft on the outside. So you're not going to, you know what I mean? You're a gentleman on the outside. It's like, this is the way it's going to be, but your rules are your rules, and they ain't going to change. Your rules are not going to change. And your rules are consistent, and they're kind of logical. She can kind of understand your rules. They're not like some weird, it's like, basically she can't come over without calling. That's just the way it is. And strangely enough, usually like the girls that walk in on me in these kind of situations, and I do the same thing if I'm not with a girl, I don't let them come in. So for example, another time, a girl, she came in without even telling me she was in town, and she had flown like several hours to see me, and she came to my door, and I was like, I looked at my window and I said, what are you doing here? And she said, and this girl was beautiful. I mean, she was like super, super hot. So it was really hard for me to do this. It was not easy. She was very hot. She was very, very sexy. And she came to my door, and she was all dressed all cutie pie too, the way I like. Yeah. And so she came to the door, and she's knocking on the door. And then she said, I opened the door. I opened the window because I didn't want to open the door. I opened the window. I'm like, well, did we make an appointment? And she's like, oh no, but I had to this, and I came out, and I said, no appointment. Like, you're not gonna come in, And she's like, I don't have any place to stay. I just can't. I was like, well, that's, I'm sorry about that. Like, I don't want to, like, I would have never planned this to be this way, But the rule is you can't just come by without calling, because that's stalking, and I'm not a stalker, and I don't want to date anybody who's a stalker. So as bad as I feel, there's no way you're coming in, right? And then she like handed me this really nice present that she had brought in the window, right? And then like the next time I saw her, it was totally fine, right? She called, she's like, hey, can I come over? What are you doing? And I'm like, come on over. And she was like totally smiles. She was all smiles because I had stood my ground. I wasn't a pussy, and also I was very consistent. So it wasn't like I was like, like I don't. And again, here's the other thing. I personally, this is not just a dumb rule I made up, I don't like when people show up. To me, it's like terrorism. Like, if somebody shows up without calling me to my door, and they can call me, it's very easy for them to pick up the phone. That's not cool. I'm not into that. Like, that's the problem. That's why I'm so hard about it, is because I don't think it's cool. I don't think it's nice. So she can smile all she wants and bring a present, but it's still not nice. And if she knows that, she knows that. But girls are so used to getting their way with guys, is that guys are such pussies that they, especially a hot girl, right? They're just gonna let her in, right? So you have to have rules. You gotta hold your ground, no matter how hot she is, no matter how weird the situation. So, once you start to understand what the rules are or what rules kind of work,
What rules do you have? I guess.
Well, that's obviously one of them. Is you can't come by without calling. You just can't do that. Let's see what else. Oh, if a girl leaves stuff in my house, let's say she leaves, let's say, makeup and stuff, right? She leaves makeup in my house. Well, then let's say she leaves panties, and she leaves a ring, and she leaves makeup, and she puts a piece of hair under the pillow on purpose, like in a circular pattern or something. Yeah. Something that would be like super obvious if another girl came by. Then I will, usually what I'll do, okay, you asked me a rule, right? What I'll do is I'll take all the rings and panties and everything, and I'll put them all in one box. And so when she comes back and she says, did I forget my panties were here last time, something? And I say, oh yeah, just go in the box there. And there's like tons of panties and tons of rings. And then the girls, they never go back. They never do it again. They never do it twice. No, I didn't learn from Jeff. I learned this on my own. This was like one of my most hilarious things that I thought of on my own was because I thought, you know what, I'm so tired of these girls leaving stuff, but I don't want to like keep it for them, right? Because if I keep it for them, then it's like, what's next, right? Bend over and grease up my asshole? No way, man, they can't do that. But at the same time, I don't usually throw them away. Sometimes other girls find them, they throw them away. That happens sometimes. Sometimes that definitely happens, That's nice out here. Beautiful evening. Beautiful evening. Yeah, so nice. So nice and hot. I love Thailand. The weather's like so awesome here. It's never, can you see that plant? Water lily. And then the fountains. Yeah, so there's a couple of my rules. I've got a bunch of them. I can make a list at some point of things that I think are super important. But I think the main thing you have to do is you have to feel your own body. Okay, what I mean by that is you have to feel inside yourself for what is right and what is wrong. So if she's doing something that is wrong, she knows is wrong, then it's that you can make a rule out of that, right? So everybody knows what's cool and what's not cool. We all know these things. It's not a huge mystery. You know what I mean? It's not like you just like, oh my gosh, I've never thought of this before in my life. It could be like, it could literally be like a rule that your mother told you when you're 5 years old, like, you know what I mean? So if that's the case, then what you do is you just make it a rule and you tell her very clearly that I'm not cool with this. But the good part is you don't need to be so, you don't have to think so hard. You can do it as things come up. So when something comes up, then you can say, like, wait a second, I'm not cool with this at all. And, and I think part of it is like learning how to have good judgment. Because if your rules are too strict and they kind of don't make sense, if your rules don't make sense, right, then it's kind of like, I don't know, you're kind of a failure as a man, kind of, you have to be kind of like smart about it. You have to like come up with decent rules that make sense. You can't just be this guy who just makes up stupid rules and then, everybody just like, you're expecting them to follow along and you're inconsistent with that's it. Well, that's the other thing too, is you have to be, once you make a rule, you have to be very consistent. I wouldn't say you have to be 100% consistent because there are those rare times when I'll break my rule. For example, if it's my birthday, or I never know. It just depends on how I feel. But generally, the rules are the rules. I'm not going to change them. But I do have that tiny, tiny bit of, thinking about the reality of the situation, right? Like, let's say she's sick, and let's say that, I don't know, just her husband's going to divorce her because she's with you, or something like that. That's pretty serious. Her husband's going to divorce her because she's with you. Let's say she's in that situation and she's really feeling down and she shows up. I might be a little bit easy on her in that case, but I'm going to make it very clear that usually she can't do this. And if she ever does this again, it's no good. But if she's like super down about something, I might, in that situation, I might say, you know what, come on in, But I'll let her know. I'll hug her and say, this is not cool, but today it's okay, And I think that kind of, you want to have a rule, but there's that 1 in a million where you break your rule. And I think that also is a sign of strength. And I think also that women take it as a sign of strength because they know that's a wise, like a king. That's why you need, they had kings in the Bible and stuff, right? They made these wise decisions because the decisions are not just in some book somewhere, rule book, right? You're having to actually think about things, right? You're having to measure stuff and decide what makes sense in this situation with these people at this time on this day, right? So it is important to be a wise man. You want to be a wise man, essentially, right? You're fucking Yoda, man. You're Yoda. Yoda doesn't change, and Yoda says don't try, right? A try is basically losing, right? You either do it or don't do it, right? And so there you go. There's some rules. I can let you borrow my rules, and I hope they are useful. I don't have them written down at this point, but I will. And if you feel free to ask me, if you have...
Oh, I have a question.
Sure.
What do you do if let's say you set up like, let's meet tomorrow for dinner,
Yeah.
and then at the afternoon she like cancels. She's like, oh, I can make it like 5 hours before.
Ah, okay. So you've got an appointment, and then she cancels. Pretty serious stuff. Pretty serious stuff. You know, I mean, I'll just say from my perspective, I don't do that. Right? You know, I'm never going to like cancel suddenly. If I do cancel, it's something like really serious. Like, hey, I didn't know, you know, there's this event that I have to go to. I had no idea it was today. You know, I totally screwed up. I'm an idiot. You know, I'm sorry. And I'll make it up to you, right? Because I don't like to cancel on the girls. You know, it's not about, you know what I mean? Like, you're also bound by being, you know, wise and having rules too, right? So I would say, okay, so that's the first thing. I don't do that. So okay, now she's doing something that I don't do. She's breaking a thing. What I would do in that case is I would say this. I'd say, okay, tell me the situation. Like, what happened? And then she says, well, you know, like I would dig into it. I would, because I would. This is exactly how I would answer. I would say, okay, tell me exactly what happened. Like, and she'll say, well, you know, I was going to do this, but then I suddenly had something else come up. And I'd say, okay, what's the other thing? And, you know, she's having heart surgery, or grandma, whatever, something like that. Okay, fine. But if she just says, well, you know, I just suddenly realized that I better write this paper, or, you know, my friend called me, then that's very serious. That's really serious. I mean, that's fucking heart attack serious, because she's treating you bad. She's not taking you seriously. So if a girl breaks that kind of rule with you, that you have a partnership and she doesn't even show up, dude, that's real serious, because she's basically like not your girlfriend anymore. You know what I mean? Like, she's not even taking you seriously at all. You know? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, this is not just like one break. This is a sign that things are like falling apart, right?
Yeah, she doesn't respect you.
Yeah. So in this case, I don't have this kind of thing happen to me, so I can't really say, but I would say in this case, what I would do is I would say, okay, so you had a meeting and you suddenly just decided to change, and I'd say, you know, I would just tell her pretty clearly. I would say, you know, I don't do that to people. I don't know, let me think about this. I think this is quite serious, because it means that we're not, it means that we're not somehow compatible. Like, that we don't understand each other. Because this is, you know, I don't do this. Like, I have my rules, and I have my way of living. I have my values. And then I'll say, you know, it's fine. I know everybody's different. So, like, if we don't see each other, you know, and we find other people, I think that's totally cool, because, you know, like, it's like something's wrong here. I don't want to like look the other way if something's wrong. Like, if you're not happy, then that's totally fine. Like, I'm not here that you should be happy with me. You know, if you're not happy with me, then, and this is what somebody would do if they were unhappy with somebody, is they would just willy-nilly change on them, right? And so you're just changing on me, and then she would say, no, I'm very happy with you. I'm very happy with you. I say, but you know, I know that's what you're saying now, but that's not the way that you're really feeling, you know. Yeah. I'd say, because you couldn't do this on somebody you really liked, and then the girl will realize I'm breaking up with her. You know what I mean? Like, I'm fucking breaking up, and then she'll just go, oh my god, like the good girls will go, oh my god, I'm so sorry. Like, they might even say, like, you know, guys usually are not so strict like you. Like, I'm not used to this. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I didn't really think about it. I'm kind of like, this is the way I've always treated guys, and like, and I would say, well, that's cool, but, you know, and then she would say, but I understand it's not cool, so I'm sorry, and I'm not going to do it again, and like, it's my fault, you know, so let me make it up to you. And then she might say something like, what does a good girl do to make it up to you? And then I would like, you know, maybe I would do something to punish her. So for example, I might fuck her in the ass really hard, you know, that day, you know, like, I might do something that causes her a tiny bit of pain, you know, or something that.
What else besides that?
Well, in other words, something that's a tiny bit of a punishment, where she understands that it's like humorous punishment.
Okay.
But it's, you know, because you know, she made a full apology, right? In this case, she said, look, I'm so sorry. Guys are usually so weak that I treat them like that, but I know you're not like that, and so I really respect you, and I really understand where you're coming from, and I messed up. Like, it's my fault. I'm sorry. then that's a real apology. So if a girl makes a real apology like that, then I really am pretty easygoing about it, because she understood that she really made a mistake, right? If she understands this, the gravity of the situation, I mean, you can't treat somebody you love like that, or you like that. You just can't do it, right? It's not cool. I mean, it really isn't cool, you guys. It's not cool for me to do. It's not cool for her to do. You know, if she's got something like an emergency, it's fine, you know. I mean, emergency, it's totally fine. It's like better than fine. It's like there's nothing to say if there's an emergency, right? An emergency is an emergency, whether she's a girl or a guy or whatever. So, but in this case where there was an emergency and it was just not caring about me, then I would just say, you know, you have to, you know, I won't do that to you, and I won't let that be done to me. And then often the girls will like really apologize. Like they'll know I'm dead serious. Like I'm totally dead serious. Like I just don't want to have the next time I meet her, I have to be angry with her. Like I don't want to do that. I'm not into that. I'm not going to do that. Either we're having a good relationship or we're not. You know what I mean? Like I don't want any of this kind of stuff where I'm like her daddy, telling her what to do and giving her like pointers, and you know, no, forget that. If she's not into me, it's totally fine. It's totally fine. And I'm just going to go with another girl, and it's totally cool. But I think in that case, it's serious enough to tell her that, you know, this is like things that people that love each other don't do. And I use this one quite a bit. Whenever something is like really out of hand like this, and there's no other way to fix it, you know, like maybe the girl says something like, she might say something like, let me think. Okay. Yeah, on Sunday, my friends are coming over. I want you to come with me. I want you to go with me to this dinner. I want you to do this. I want you to do that. You know, that's when I'll say, you know, it sounds like you're looking for another kind of guy. It sounds like you really don't like my kind of guy. You want another kind of guy who's going to do everything you say. You know, like guys who are really weak, you know, and that's cool. That's totally cool. I mean, you know, different kind of relationships, right? You know, and I'm not into that. So, you know, I think that in that case, like, if this is like a necessity, then I really think, as much as I care about you, I think you're great, but it's just like we're not compatible, and like we should really be honest about that. And the girls will go, no, it's not such a big thing. Like, no, really, it's not a big deal. I just wanted you to come with my friends. I'll say, oh, okay. Yeah, today I didn't want to. And then she'll be like, okay, cool. Because she knows that you're tough, you're strong. And then also she knows that it's true. Like, you really didn't want to go. Yeah. Like, I'm not just making it up. Like, I don't want to go with her friend and drink tea and all this crap. She can go do that on her own. Yeah. She comes with me. I'm going to give her the good bone. There's going to be some romance. You know what I mean? There's going to be a lot of kissing. There's going to be a lot of sweating. That's what's going to happen. You know, there's going to be a lot of laughing, you know. We'll eat some good food. We'll have a good time. It's not like I'm not like a butler, you know. I'm not like a dog who just follows her around and does everything, you know, she wants. But again, I will say that there are times when, you know, like I say, the 1 in a million, the King Herod wisdom here is there's a 1 in a million chance where you will say, you know what, I would like to go with your friends, or you know, this is so important to you that I will do it, even though she knows you usually wouldn't do it. And then what happens is she will appreciate so much when you do come, because she'll be like, I know this is a big deal for you. You know, I know you wouldn't usually do this, so it's so cool. And she'll like make it fun. She'll like go out of her way to make it good, because she knows you don't want to do it, right? You're not being a dick about it. You're just like, you usually just don't do it. You just don't want to do it. But this time, it's different. You're okay. And then she'll be like so grateful, and she'll make sure that you guys have sex that day, and you know, you have a nice time, and that nothing's too long. She might even say like, do you want to go now? We've been here for like 2 hours. You want to go? And I'd be, yeah, it's a good time. And then we get out of there. So she's respecting me. She's listening to me. So even in that 1 in a million time when I would do something I usually wouldn't do, and often it's just because of the place. Like we might be going to a really cool restaurant, or like her friend might own a restaurant, or her dad might own a company that we're going to see, or something that I'm a little bit interested in, right? Rather than just going with her friends to Starbucks or some crap, you know, or watching some movie with your friends, you know. So there you go. There's my basic kind of rule that if you can extrapolate these ideas to, you know, a bigger, you know, format, like if you can take these and start to distill them down to what's important, and like you can use them in other situations because they're very consistent. They're very, very consistent. Once you get the groove of it, you'll understand what to do. And next time something happens like that you're not expecting, all you got to do is just like take a breath, maybe go to the bathroom and have some time by yourself and then think about it. Like, what would Ronin Man do? What should I do in this situation? Like, what would be a smart, wise thing to do? How do I feel about this? Do I feel comfortable with this? I don't feel comfortable. Okay, how uncomfortable? Is this like full on breakup time, or is this like, what is the proper punishment? I think giving the proper punishment is super, super important, because if you're trying to train somebody and you're like overreacting, it doesn't work, right? If you take the dog and the dog just like, he jumps up on somebody and then you beat him up so much you break his leg, the dog doesn't learn anything, right? If the dog just jumps up on a guest and you beat him like close to death, it's like the dog doesn't learn what the hell is going on. It's like, this guy wants to kill me, he hates me, like the dog just is so confused, right? So the key is you have you're wise, you have many options on the table, and you always like think of like, what's the proper thing to do? What's the, given this situation, given what she's done, given how I feel, given my usual kind of, rules and stuff, what should I do in this situation? If you're not sure, just get out of there. Don't do something stupid, like just get out of there. Because eventually it'll become very clear, because girls do the same thing over and over. So it won't be that complicated after a while. You'll be like, okay, she's showing up without calling. Okay, she wants me to go somewhere I don't want to go. Okay, she's trying to shame me. She's going farther. She's doing this. Okay, and then here's one of the worst ones. She's not having sex when we meet. That is a very unacceptable one for me. Mm-hmm. It just does not happen. That cannot happen. Every single time we meet, it has to happen. It has to happen. We have to do it. We have to. That's what boyfriend and girlfriend do. That's the difference between boyfriend and girlfriend and mom and dad. It's not like optional, and if maybe not penetration, because maybe she's on the rag, and I like to have sex on the rag, but let's just say that you don't for some reason, so then she has to blow you, or she has to give you a nice hand job or something and kiss you, right? That's cool too, but basically like that's another thing. You can't have her playing around with sex. Sex is something that has to happen, and it has to happen for a lot of reasons. It has to happen for her, it has to happen for you, it has to happen for the relationship, and if you let it slide, you're really a fool, because you're really setting the seeds of ruining the relationship, because it starts to get confusing about what you guys should even do together, right? It's like, no, don't be confused. Don't let yourself fall into that like mass of confusion that most guys fall into. You're a strong guy, your thinking is clear, you're logical, you've thought about everything, you're kind, but you're very tough. And you're very consistent, right? And you've got logical, good rules, and you follow them. And this will make you a better man too. This is like making these rules actually makes you a better man too, which makes you more attractive, which gets more girls. And like, this is how you can manage multiple girls. This is how I always have multiple girls. So, like I'll always manage them at the same time. You have to be tough. You have to be consistent, because if you have, say you have like a bunch of girls, you can't have them all come at the same time, right? Valentine's Day, you can't meet all of them, right? So you have to learn to manage them. So I learned these rules from hardcore, real situations where I had to, I basically couldn't break my rule. Like the girl had to go because another girl was coming over. Mm-hmm. I'm a kind of a nice guy in a way. So I wouldn't have probably learned these rules if I didn't have all those girls, because I had no choice. I absolutely had to get the one out of the house. You know what I mean? And I couldn't meet this one because the other one was meeting me, right? And so I learned to do this kind of the hard, you know what I mean? Like through, it wasn't, I don't know if I would have thought of this if I had one girl. I don't think I could have been this tough. I don't think I could have been this wise if I only had one girl. But it definitely works with one girl, but multiple girls is better. Because when you have multiple, you don't have that sense of scarcity, right? And you can be tougher with them. And in the end, girls love it. Girls love it, you guys. They love it. They totally love it. Like I said in the beginning, they want a guy who's strong enough, like a captain, and he's going to take them through. He's going to take them through this wild world that we live in, through childbirth, through death, through children, through college, the kids, and fighting, and disease, and through money, and through hard times, and through business disagreements and lawyers, and she needs a guy who's very, very strong. And this is why it works, you guys. This is why it works. So keep your eye on the ball, because the girls, they really want a man who can carry them through life, who wades through the world, and people get out of his way because he knows what he wants, and he's very strong. But he's also very kind. That's a leader. That's what a leader is. That's the difference between a leader and a follower and a totally confused individual. So you want to be that person. And the girls, even though it's a little hard on them, they understand this is rare. Most guys are so fucking weak, you guys. Like they act like they're so strong. Most guys are so full of it. And every girl knows the truth is that guys are so fucking weak. They will like bend and bend and bend to get some pussy, right? But you won't. You're like, no way. I ain't going to do that. I ain't going to go there. No, I'm going to stick to my rules. And if this one has to go, she has to go. And maybe, the thing is, sometimes they just go for a while. Like they might go for a week, or they might go for 2 weeks. My longest banishment period is 3 weeks. Otherwise, I'm going to break up with them, right? If they've really done something bad, I'll banish them for 3 weeks, right? And that's based on judgment, right? It's like, does it make sense? Did they do something that was so bad that
So what are the
deserves
like
3
a
weeks?
small punishment is like anal sex or something like that, and then the higher ones is just like not seeing them for a week.
Let's see.
Because I'm trying to have like a easy way to scale it.
Right. Well, okay.
Easy fix.
The one thing is breaking up with them is like one of the big ones.
Right.
But it's like in a very kind way. It's like, oh, you want me to do, you want me to always be with you. You want me to call you every 2 hours and tell you who I'm with. You want me to take pictures of like the person I'm with because I'm proving to you I'm not with a girl. You want that. I see. That's the kind of guy you want. That kind of guy actually is not me. I understand what kind of guy you're talking about. You like a kind of a weak guy who's kind of does what you want and will kind of do whatever you want. And she'll say, no. I say, well, no, you do. That's what you want. And like, that's totally cool. Like a lot of girls, the balance of the sexes is confusing. It's complicated, right? I'll say, but that's not me. I'm never going to do that. And she would say, well, but what if you're with another girl? Then I would say, well, look, do you trust me? And she'd say, well, kind of, or whatever. And I'll say, look, if you don't trust me, that's totally cool. But we shouldn't be together at all, because we should definitely break up right now, because I only want to be someone who trusts me.
Right.
And she'll say, well, what about the other girl you had last time I came over, And I'll say, you weren't supposed to be there, You know what I mean? You're not supposed to be there. Like, what are you talking about? You didn't see that, You were worse than I was. Like, you can't do this. If you ever do that again, you're totally toast, And the girls will be like, it's so confounding to them. But it's like, actually makes sense,
Yeah.
And what's worse, stalking? Fuck stalking, dude. I mean, which kind of guy do you respect more? A guy who fucks girls or a guy who's a stalker? Of course, you should respect the guy who's screwing girls, right? So that's the way you do it. You remember that girls love strong guys. They want a strong guy to take them through life, and just make sure you don't over punish. So let me just go to answer your question. That basically is, if she does something that like is like unacceptable, then you say, well, you're not breaking up, but you just say, look, in that case, it would be really good for us not to see each other, because I'm not that kind of guy. I'm this kind of guy. And then she'll say, you give her a little rope, right? She'll be like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. I really, it's not such a big deal. It's fine. Don't worry, And then I'm like, oh, okay, and I forget all about it, right? Now, if they really are serious, then I'll be like, okay, well, that means we're really not compatible. Even though I really care about you, think you're really awesome, I had such a great time, and then I'll just say, okay, I'm gonna go, and then she'll be like, oh, don't go, but she doesn't say like anything else. I'll just go, okay, well, catch you later, and I'll leave, and then she'll be like calling me like desperately, like she really didn't want to break up at all, right? But she was like just being a bonehead about that point. It's like, no, I'm not going to do it, right? I'm just not going to do it. Like, no way. And then she'll be like, oh, I'm sorry. And it's fine, right? But then again, if it's like she's totally serious about it, and it's like some stupid thing I don't want to do, then it's like, well, it's really been great knowing you. It really has been. Like, I remember this time was great, and that time was great, And then, we shouldn't see each other. Then like in a weird scenario, she might call you 3 weeks later or something, right? And then say, can I come over? And then I would say, in that case, it's pretty serious, right? So I'd say, well, why do you want to come over? And she's like, I want to make amends. I'm so sorry. I miss you. I really was stupid. Mm-hmm. And I say, what were you stupid about? before she comes over. I'll be like, what were you stupid about? Well, I was stupid because like it was such a dumb small thing and I was being such a cunt, you know. And I'll be like, then when she uses the word like cunt, then I'm like, okay, that's a real apology. If a girl calls herself a cunt, you know, because she really was being lame, that's a pretty big deal. I mean, that's a big deal, right? So then I would say, okay, she's kind of, it's fine, you know, she can come over, it's cool. And when she comes over, you guys, there's no hard feelings at all. It's all like good times, just like normal. You know, we just have sex, we go around, we do something fun, you know, we go do normal stuff, right? Do not make the mistake of once it's fixed of ever mentioning it again. Okay, it's finished. It's finished, and you never even think about it again. That's how far you go. Is like you just kind of like you've been the judge, you've been King Herod, you've been wise, she's been good, and that's it. There's no more like, don't ever fucking mention it. This is really important. Don't like go half-ass where you're like later on still talking about it and still driving her crazy, because girls will realize it's not fair and they'll be like, this guy's a retard, and they'll leave. So there you go. There's the basic training women in standard situations and unstandard, and managing several girls in real life. Thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for the shares. I really do appreciate them, and I read them all. I read all the comments, and I love them. So, thanks, guys. Hope you guys have a great day.